Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! I have for you today a technique that is a great way to use up designer series paper. It's a very simple layout, no fancy folds, no fancy cutting required, just 8 squares that are 1¼ inches, and you can use a variety of papers to create your card. We'll get more into that as we go, but very easy to do and a lot of fun to put together. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to make it. This card features the Everyday Detail stamp set. I love the imagery in this one. It's so fun and easy to color. We have our pretty little bird's nest, our teacup or coffee cup, whatever you prefer, and our little flower pot. So I also love this little accent stamp here. And very nice, simple wording. So we're going to use the You Make Every Day a little brighter and kind of make this a card that you could send if you were thinking of a friend. So to start, we are going to use a card base. This is 8.5 by 5.5. This is Moody Mauve, one of our in colors that's going to be around for another year. We have a set that's retiring soon. If you're interested in Stampin' Up! Products, you can check out my website at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net. We have all the current products, we have the products that are retiring, and we also have a section of online exclusives, and all of our creative kits are on the website as well. So be sure to check those out. However, if you do not have a demonstrator you're working with and you'd like to see a paper catalog, please feel free to get in touch with me and I'll be happy to get one to you. I know I like having something in my hands to drool over a little bit. All right, so card base 8.5 by 5.5, but really you can use whichever style card base you like. If you prefer the 4¼ by 11, it doesn't have to be the specific layout of card base. So I went ahead and folded it and figured out which side I want for the front and the back. The next thing you're going to need is a layer of cardstock, and I made a note here. You'll need 2 that are 5¼ by 4. Now it's up to you what colors to use. I have 2 that are basic white. One of them is going to be for the inside of my card and the other one is going to be for the front. But obviously I could have used a color instead of the basic white. So just up to you what works best with your color paper and things like that. So keep that in mind that you'll need to. Doesn't necessarily need to be the same color though. All right, so the one for the inside I'm gonna put to the side. And then a little tip I have for you, it doesn't matter really. You can either put this on the card first and then start building it, or you can wait a little bit and build on it, and then once the paper is attached, attach it to the card front. I did it both ways. It doesn't really matter, whatever your preference is. So to make the card, you will use, my little note is sticking here, you need 8 squares that are 1¼ inches. So it's completely up to you if you want to use 8 pieces of paper and have 8 different prints, or in my case, since I didn't have 8 pieces that coordinated, I just cut 2 squares out of 4 pieces of paper, and I'm going to alternate them to put them on the card front. I'm also going to mix this up a little bit. I'm going to try to make this card, but I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to have my 2 little squares over here, just kind of to be different. So we'll see if I can get this to work out. I wanted to do it earlier, and then I messed up my prints, and it wouldn't have looked right. So let's see here. I like to lay out my squares. They don't have to be perfect. It's more to get a visual before I glue anything down, and that way if I don't like it, I can flip-flop them around. As you'll see, it's a very tight fit here on the card. I did try on one of my other cards to make them smaller, to make them like 1 1/8 inch. I really didn't like it. You might want to try it and see if you like it better. I'll try to remember to point out which one that is on the samples. But it is a very, very tight fit. So, okay, I think I like this layout. Yeah, I think that'll do. Okay, so now that I have my layout established, what I like to do, it's funny, If you've been on my videos before, you will know I am a tape runner girl. I do not like to use liquid glue. It's just not my thing. I tend to get glue on my fingers, glue all over my work surface. If I can use a tape runner on it, I'm going to use a tape runner on it. But I'm actually going to use some of our multi-purpose glue on this card because it allows me wiggle room. That way I can put these pieces down, but since it's such a tight fit, if I need to maneuver them a little bit, I have a little freedom to do so before the glue really sticks and sets. So just something to keep in mind while you're doing this. I did make a lot of these samples with tape runner, so it's really up to you. You just have a little more freedom of movement with the liquid glue. So once I've got my layout down, what I tend to do is move the squares off to the side, but keep them in order. And that way I can have a little more freedom to move. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip these 3 over, keeping them in order. Bring my glue over. Now, rule of thumb with liquid glue, dot, dot, not a lot. So I really keep my, the tip of my glue down on the paper, like almost pressing it down on the paper so I get a tiny little stream come out, and not too close to the edge, but enough glue that my pieces will stick. And I like to start with my corners and then fill in the middle. Okay, so there's my corners, and then I will fill in my middle piece. I usually like more of a border on my pages, but I'm really squeezing them in here with these 1 1/4 inch squares. And I don't know, I cut them all the same, but my squares do not turn out the same. All right, so a little more glue here. Dot, dot, not a lot. I could put dots on the corners, but to me the swirls are a little easier. And while I'm here, finish off these 2 as well. Okay, so there is my glue. I'm going to work on my bottom corners here. And just keep putting these on. And as I said, you can switch the sides for your large panel. It can be on the right or the left. I'm going to show you another alternative with that in our samples in just a minute or two. I press that down. And then I'm working really hard not to get glue on my hands here. Okay, one more. Sometimes you have to maneuver your print to have it facing a certain direction. Be careful with directional paper. You can definitely use it, but you'll want to make sure that nothing's upside down. All right, so once these are on, these are starting to set already. I could use liquid glue to put this on the card front, but I'm going to go ahead and use my tape runner. So Stampin' Seal will do, Stampin' Seal Plus. Again, whatever kind of adhesive you like. And then this gets centered on the front. Okay. So now, obviously, we have this space to fill in. So we are going to use a piece that is currently hiding from me on my desktop. I panicked for a minute. Okay. I have a cardstock square that is 2.5 inches. This is Wild Wheat. Coordinates beautifully with the Moody Mauve and the colors here. Was not my favorite color when it first came out, but it has grown on me significantly because it looks more golden than kind of wheat colored. And it works beautifully with the mauve. It also pairs beautifully with Pretty Peacock, if you've seen that color. So to the 2.5 inch square, we are going to add a basic white square that is 2.25 inches. So if you wanted to, you could add a third layer. So use, instead of white, use this color and go a little bit smaller, maybe 2 inches, totally up to you and depends on what kind of image you have or sentiment for the front. You could simply use words on this panel if you wanted to. All right, so for me and my card, we're going to use that little teacup or coffee cup. So I'm going to use Tuxedo Black Memento ink. This is my go-to ink, especially when I am using my Stampin' Blends. And I always manage to get this on my fingers, so I'm trying really hard not to do that. I mucked up an envelope earlier. So I'm just going to stamp my image. I'm going to let this sit, clean this stamp for just a minute, and then I'm going to put my memento away. Pardon me. I'm going to let this sit just for a second. I like to let it dry just for a moment before I start using my blends. Pardon, I got a tickle. And that'll allow me to finish the inside of my card. So here is that second panel that is 5 1/4 by 4 in the basic white. Pardon me. Ooh, haven't had a tickle in my throat all day. Turn on the camera, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to use Moody Mauve ink. And that sentiment, you make every day a little brighter. Lovely way to tell someone you're thinking of them. And then I cleaned that teacup stamp because I'm going to use it 2 times more. Once on the bottom corner here of the insert in the wild wheat, and then on the envelope. And I managed to do it without any black ink smudges. Yay! Probably means I'm going to drop a stamp right on it in a minute. Try not to do that. Okay. Set these off to the side for just a minute, and we'll put a little color in here. I'm not going to color the whole thing, but I do want to add a little bit. So I have my wild wheat blends. All our blends are, they're alcohol markers, beautiful for blending color. That's why we call them blends. But they come in duos, so we have a light and a dark of each shade. So this is the light wild wheat. To coordinate with the colors and for my leaves, I like to use Old Olive. I just think this green is the right shade. So I'm just gonna kind of accent some of these lines in the dark, and then come back with my light color and color over. A little tip, if you have not used our blends, because these are alcohol markers, so that you have the blending effect, be careful when you take the tops off. I don't like to take the top off over my project because sometimes you get kind of an extra little splash of that alcohol, and while it is clear, sometimes it messes up what you're working on. Other times it dries and doesn't cause any problems, but I also, if there's a problem, Lord knows that I could get it. So I always try to remember to not work or not open my blends right over my project, and I also try not to open them near my clothing. Kind of try holding them off to the side, because I have ruined a shirt or two that way. All right, so these are the light and dark Moody Mauve blends that I'm just finishing off our little flower. I thought about coloring in the whole teacup, but decided I think just that little splash of color will do. So while that sets for just a second, it's dry. It just makes me feel better to leave it to the side for just a second. So here's my inside piece. So this panel gets glued down on the inside. These panels get layered together. Now you can decide if your glue wants to cooperate. Here we go. You can layer them on the card front flat, or you can give it some dimension, really up to you. I'm gonna pop this piece, just using a couple of our large dimensionals. And then fit it nicely in that space, like so. I could be finished right there, but I like to add a little bling. And we have these beautiful gems called iridescent foil gems, And they have just a little sparkle inside, and some of them kind of have a pink tinge, which is perfect with that moody mauve color. So let's see. The longest thing for this card will be for you to pick your paper and then pick your embellishments and figure out where to put them, if you're anything like me. Okay, so there is our really quick and easy layout featuring DSP and 1 1/4 inch squares. For a lot of these cards, I was cutting 12 by 12 paper, and so obviously I'm cutting the strips. They're square, they're 1 1/4 inch. So when I've got that long 12-inch strip of paper that's 1 1/4, I'm not just going to cut one square out of it. I actually went down the whole 12 inches and cut as many as I could, and then cut some extra pieces, and I have more of these cards prepped to put together and make use of some of that paper. So it's a really easy way. Even though it kind of looks a little complicated, it would not be all that complicated to mass produce because you're going to be picking out these papers anyway. It's just a matter of cutting them into the squares, and then once you get an idea of your layout, you can kind of just roll with it. So I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make it, and I have some more samples to show for you. So here are some cutesy cards. This is from our Just Kiddin' stamp set and dies. These are carrying forward into our new catalog, which comes out at the beginning of May. The stamp set and dies are carrying forward. The paper is going to retire, but you can obviously pair these with any other color. So here I die cut a shape right from the Designer Series paper pack to go along with my sentiment. And here you can see you could just use your message, use words, and you don't necessarily need an image on the front of your card. Here I cut, I stamped and colored and then die cut out our cute little girl. And then, of course, I have to have the accents on the inside and the envelopes. So just some fun little birthday cards to have on hand. And don't even necessarily have to be for kids. There are some great images in the DSP and the stamp set. Okay. Oh, and one thing I wanted to point out, I did not use white here for my base panel. I used Azure Afternoon and then the Berry Burst, and I flipped it on the other card and only used the white panel on the inside. So mix and match your colors, whatever makes you happy. Next up, a peek at one of our online exclusives and a new color coming to Stampin' Up! May 1st. So here we have our Feathered Flight. This stamp set is one of our online exclusives and features some beautiful imagery with ducks. I happen to have the stamp set close at hand. So just very nice imagery. You could use this for masculine cards, sympathy cards. I know for me, I always have trouble with masculine get well cards and sympathy cards and birthday cards. So this could do the job for all three. Here, because I did not have a ton of masculine looking Designer Series paper, I used embossed cardstock. So I took some pecan pie that coordinated with this paper, and then I have my mossy meadow for my background, but I decided to pull in my new color. This colored cardstock is actually Basic Beige. It is a new basic that is joining the catalog. It is not replacing any other colors. So it's beige. It has kind of a slight greenish tinge to it. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but I do. So there is the ink pad. And then you can actually see tone on tone here how it looks on the paper. I wanted you to get a quick view of that. But here is the inside of the card, nice and simple. And then just simple wording, simple imagery, and a very nice but not boring masculine card. So hope you like that one. Oh, and here's the ducks again on the envelope. And I went with very vanilla for my envelope rather than a white. Thought it was a better, actually there is white here, but I actually like the vanilla better. Okay, now another new product coming May 1st is our Adventurous Sky Suite. I love this one. The imagery is beautiful. The Designer Series paper is fantastic. And here you get a peek at a lot of it. Blues and grays and our copper clay color are the focus for this, although we do have some greens in the suite as well. Here's the stamp set, beautiful clouds, some great airplanes. I'm really loving this kind of riveted look here. That'll be a nice accent to have. Father's Day, birthday, encouragement, lots of different occasions there that you can use. And for this one, I really wanted to try to turn the orientation on the card rather than the portrait orientation. I wanted to try horizontal, the landscape, but I did not like it when I had the box to the top or the bottom. So I thought, wait a minute, all I did was cut the squares in half, and I thought about flip-flopping them, didn't like the look, so I kept them paired up there. But an easy way to just change the layout very minutely. So there's my sentiment, my airplane. Definitely going to be making more of these for birthdays and Father's Days as well. And then here's my coordinating envelope. And then last but not least, we have our adorable new Hearts and Hugs stamp set that is coming May 1st. So we have the walruses, the badgers, the mouse, and I'm guessing guinea pig. Could be a hamster, I suppose. I'm not sure. I'll have to check into that. But I thought this would be a great card to pair with some of our new in colors. And so I have a sneak peek of those to show you. So here are 2 cards. This is 8 different sheets of Designer Series paper. 6 of them are from the same set, and then this panel here and this one are from our new in color selection. And so these are just 2 of the new in colors that you're going to see in the new catalog. A little memento and blends, and actually this is a 3rd color here, this pink. And since you've stuck around this long, I'm going to show you a sneak peek of the new in colors. So you'll be seeing a lot of these. They are great for summer. They remind me of Rainbow Sherbet. So Petunia Pop was one that you saw on the card just a moment ago. This one I want to see, I'm thinking it might pair very well with Berry Burst, which is a little bit darker. Then we have Summer Splash, which is another color featured on that last card. We also have Peach Pie. And actually, one of the other papers in that, this is the Unbounded Love Designer Series paper. It has Petunia Pop on the peach pie in a floral. It's gorgeous. And I am not much of a peachy, yellowy, orangey person, but I'm really liking this. Then we have Shy Shamrock and Pretty in Pink. So lots of fun. Like I said, makes me think of Rainbow Sherbet and summertime. So I'm sure you're going to be seeing a lot of cards with these colors in them. But very fun and a nice bright set to kind of offset the more subtle colors that are in this in color grouping, which includes that Moody Mauve and that Wild Wheat. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed learning a new technique that might help you make use of some of your Designer Series paper squares. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.